Hey, this is Matthew Ricks, and today on the Music Business Newsletter, we got a good one, and she's young too, asking the heated questions on, should I try to get signed or stay independent? So before we dive into this email, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel. Leave me a comment if you agree with me. If you disagree with me, leave me a comment, but make sure to like and subscribe and share it with your friends who are in the music industry. So maybe we can all just kind of get on the same page on how to get as many people to discover our music, how to reach as many people as possible. And if you have a question on the music industry that you want me to answer, just go to MatthewRicks.com, click submit your question, give me as many details as possible, and we'll answer it here on the channel in video and audio form. So not only can I help you, but we can also collectively help artists around the world who have the exact same issue or question that you have. I don't need you to join my Patreon. I don't have a Patreon. I don't need you to buy my book. I don't have a book. I don't need you to book a private coaching session. I don't do that anyways. All you got to do is go to MatthewRicks.com and click submit your question and give me as many details as possible. Now, today's email. The email says, my name is Sarah. I am 16 years old, and I just started watching your music business newsletters. I really appreciate how you break things down in a way that makes sense, especially for artists like me who are just getting started and trying to figure this whole industry out. Well, Sarah, that's what we're going to call you. First of all, thanks for sending in a question, too. I love that at 16 years old, you are trying to get as much information as possible to better further your career. There is a ton of great resources on the internet. There's a ton of great people out there who want to give you their expertise, give you their opinions, share some war stories. Try to dive into as much information as you possibly can so that you can apply it to your career. So you're not just like a lot of these artists who talk a big game or they act like they know what they're doing and they're just clueless. As for breaking it down, I say this quite often on this channel, is that I just try to make things as simplistic as possible because I do believe some people try to make things more difficult just so they seem smarter. And I know I'm not the smartest person in the room. So I try to break things down to as simplistic as possible. But thank you for sending in this email. Let's get to the meat of it now. So here's where I'm at, she says. I've only released one song so far, and it's done around 4,000 streams on Spotify since June. That's your first single, 16 years old, so you're not probably playing out a lot. You're probably not doing clubs and bar rooms and stuff like that. So 4,000 streams, 16 years old. That's a pretty good number for coming out of the gate. I don't think you put an email where you're from, but that's pretty good starting off. She continues, I've also built up about 18,000 followers on Instagram and about 40,000 on TikTok. Right now, every male who's released their first single and just kickstarted their TikTok and kickstarted their Instagram account is dying a little bit inside. There is absolutely the chick effect when it comes to social media, but good for you for having those numbers. How did she get those numbers? How did she get to 18,000 followers on Instagram and 40,000 on TikTok? Well, she tells us. Sarah comes with receipts. She says she grew her channels mostly from posting covers and behind the scenes stuff about my writing process. So at 16 years old, you're writing your own songs as well. And you have enough intellect to know that as an artist, I'm going to share this process with my fans and it's going to grow my pages. Now, you being a female does not hurt. Let's just put that out there, okay? But that's not to undermine the effort that you're putting in on TikTok and Instagram, and you're seeing the results. I would think at this point, with you having 40,000 followers on TikTok, I would think you've had a couple of videos that have popped off and gone viral. I would think. So you are probably pretty close to getting in the Creators Fund in in TikTok, I would think. So hopefully you're making some money in TikTok or you're about to. The email continues. Lately, I've been getting messages from a few independent label reps, she puts it in quotations, saying they want to talk. Some of them sound legit and others kind of don't. Well, okay, at 16 years old, it obviously, I would assume that you probably have some pretty good backing and support from your parents. Emotional support, maybe some guidance. I would at 16, if my daughter was 16 years old and put out her first single and she was getting approached by people, I would step in. I would step in. So I would say right now at 16 years old, which parent is the one who is not the gasser upper? You know, because I think with both, you know, if you have two supportive parents, one of them's the one who's like, everything you do is great. The other one who is a little bit more skeptical of, you know, their daughter getting in the music industry, maybe playing shows or producers or whatever. That's the one you want talking to these independent label reps. I mean, at 16 years old, a couple of thousand streams on Spotify, popping off on TikTok, it looks like. You didn't tell me when you started your TikTok page. Popping off a little bit on Instagram. Those are good numbers. I would assume you probably are getting some attention from some label people, indie labels. Now, are they good contracts? Are they reputable companies? You know, you don't really say. You might not know. Some of the people who are going to approach you to want to work with you are going to be legit, but probably majority of them are not going to be legit. It's just the way it is. It's just the nature of the industry. But let's continue with the email. She says, but it got me thinking. And this is what I want to ask you. Is it smarter to stay independent or try to sign with a label? Right now, there are people who are already typing out what I'm going to say, their own opinion. It just really depends on what you're looking for. It really does. It depends on what you're looking for. It depends on how hard you want to work. It depends on what you're willing to sacrifice. When I was 16 years old and I started working at Jive Records, I didn't go to homecoming. I mean, I dropped out, but I had a little girlfriend at the time. I didn't go to homecoming. I didn't go to prom. I couldn't go to prom. We actually were at a music conference in Atlanta that weekend, and I couldn't go. So it really depends on, is this something that you are incredibly passionate about, which it looks like you are because you took the time out to email me and you're watching my videos, and hopefully you're watching other people's videos and doing more research. So is this something you're willing to sacrifice? Is it something that, you know, you won't go to the pep rallies, right? Yeah, pep rallies. Is it something that you might have to skip out on homecoming for? Pretty much, besides family and, you know, if you follow God or you have religious beliefs, like something that's going to be right up there at the top, but then everything else goes by the wayside. Is it smarter to stay independent or try to sign with a label? Well, one, it also, and then it also depends on what the label is. You know, the other day I answered an email from an artist where the label wants 50% of your royalties. Don't sign that. If it's a label that is going to sign you, but they're not going to do anything, or they don't know anybody, then stay independent. If it's a more reputable independent label that's got connections, they got a marketing team, they're going to be mindful that you're 16. They come with receipts for what they do. They have a good reputation in town. They're not trying to take advantage of 16-year-olds. If you're willing to sacrifice everything, then yeah, it makes more sense than to sign with a label that's independent. If we're talking about going with a major, you're going to have to get those numbers way up. You're going to have to get those numbers way up for you to get on the radar of a major label. You're going to have to get, I would say, probably 10x your numbers. 400,000 followers on TikTok. 100,000 on Instagram. Have a couple of videos that are well into the millions. Directing everything you're doing at that point is directing people to Apple Music, Spotify, to get those stream numbers up. And that would be how you'd get a major. So the indie label thing, it really does get broken down into, there's good indie labels and there's bad indie labels. Some good indie labels out there, you know, in Christian hip hop terms, Reach Records is one of them. In punk world, Epitaph, Hellcat, Pirate Press, great indie labels. But you know, an indie label that wants you to pay money for them to work with you, you got to pay them. They're going to take 50% of your, you know, royalties. They're going to own the masters. They're going to take this single that you did and just slap their name on it and claim it's theirs, and they're not going to give you any money for it. One that's going to lock you up into long-term deals, unless it's a major that's going to, or a reputable indie who's going to give you in advance. Those are the only ones I would sign with. But at 16 right now, okay, if I was still an A&R and you came across my desk at 16, I'm going to have to really love what I'm seeing. I'm going to have to really love the music. I'm going to have to really love the imaging. I'm going to have to really love the numbers. Because at 16, this is no shade, but this is just, you're 16. In 2 years, your life could radically change forever by going to college. You could decide, like, I want to go to college. I got accepted into UCLA. I want to go to UCLA. And now I'm kind of stuck with, like, I have this contract. We've kind of put some money. We kind of put some effort into it. And now I'm stuck with you. And then I have to, either shelve you or force you to be an artist. And if I shelve you, I don't know if you're ever getting off that shelf. So at 16 years old, if I was an A&R today and you came across my desk, I'm probably keeping an eye on you. I'm probably going to be texting you and your dad or you and your mom, building a relationship, and then just watching what happens. I would say at this point, any label that is contacting you is probably not worth your time. But let's continue with the email. She says, I keep hearing people say, stay independent as long as you can, but I don't really know why. So you have artistic control. So you have freedom. So you can kind of mix it up a little bit. So you don't have a bunch of people telling you when to post, why to post. Why did you post? Why'd you post that? You can kind of write whatever you want without people going, well, I don't like that. Because I don't care what genre of music it is. If you get signed to a major, I don't care. It could be Christian. It could be punk, whatever. You get signed to a major label, they're going through your lyrics. They're going to, well, we don't want a song on the album like this. Or we don't want your single to be like this. So why, you don't really know why someone would stay independent as long as you can. If you're not 16, if you're 25 and you want to stay, there's a couple of people who will want to stay independent as long as they possibly can. You got the purist who, and you see that a lot in like the indie and the punk realm, where they want to be independent because there's something very romantic to them about being poor. And there's something very romantic about them being, 300 monthly listeners on Spotify, kicking everybody to Bandcamp, trying to sell CDs out of the back of the van. They find that very romantic. I don't. The other ones who stay independent are the ones who are like, there's nothing really right now that a label can offer me. I'm making money. I'm playing shows. I'm getting features. I'm making money off of YouTube. I'm making money off of TikTok. I'm making money off of Instagram. Then plus all the streaming services. I'm getting show money. I'm getting merch money. What can a label do at this moment in time? Then the other one is you kind of long game it. And I think the best person probably to use as an example would be someone like Forrest Frank, who is technically independent, but he's with a major. And they just, because he was popping off so much, they just gave him whatever he wanted. And they just come in and offer marketing muscle or whatever. But at this point, that thing is such a runaway train, I don't even know what they could do to make it better or bigger for him. So those are some of the people who would tell you why to stay independent as long as you can. She continues to ask, what are the actual benefits of being independent compared to signing to a deal? Once again, artistic freedom, creativity control, not being micromanaged, not being shelved. You might get, look, you could get signed and piss somebody off and you're getting shelved. You have the freedom that if you decide in a couple of years you don't want to do this anymore, happens all the time, then you can walk away without having to buy out of your contract or being forced to continue, because that does happen. Having a team behind you is great, but also having the freedom to do what you want is also great. I loved when I worked at labels having the security of, a paycheck every 2 weeks. I love the security of not having to get online and apply for my health care. But now independent, I consult for a few labels. I do the Matrix Minute. I do this. If I want to take my kids to Disney World, I don't have to ask anybody. It don't matter how many times I go. I have that freedom to do it. So for me, I decided it was better for me to be independent on the business side than it was to be in a corporate regime, because I like to have my freedom. And I like rolling the dice on things. I'm kind of a gambler like that. The email continues. As for someone like me who's still in high school, I feel like I could really focus on my music full time once I graduate. But I don't want to make the wrong move early and get stuck in a bad deal or lose control of my music. She's 16 years old, y'all. 16 years old. And is worried about getting stuck in a bad deal and losing control of her music. 16 years old. We're going to call you Sarah. Sarah, I know people who are 36 years old who don't even have that mindset. Well, we did the other day. The guy was going to sign away 50% of his royalties just because he can finally get a label. Good for you for having that mindset. Because also, people your age who are in music, they kind of play dumb, or they just don't care to learn. And they hope that their parents will figure it out for them. But you're figuring it out on your own. Good for you. She continues, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what an artist like me should be thinking about before signing anything. School, your education, which is funny coming from the high school dropout. What do you envision for your music? I don't know if you said what kind of music you do, but at 16 years old, what should you be thinking about before you sign anything? What is a label going to be able to bring? Is it tour support? Is your big thing is like, I want to get with a label so I have tour support? So they're going to put me on tour with one of their bigger artists? Then yeah, you need a label. But what should you be thinking about is you should really come up with a roadmap for what you want. Okay, this is what I want for my career. I don't believe in vision boards or anything like that, but have a roadmap, keep adjusting it, and be like, look, this is what I would like to see for my career. Which ones in my wildest dreams, let's say my single pops off and I got 50 million streams. Which one of these can I do without a label? And start checking them. Which ones can I not do without a label? That's how you get a game plan for when they do start coming. And then she continues to ask if there's ever a right time to go after a label deal. Well, if you're going to try to pursue getting signed, you're never going to get signed to a reputable label. Because you're going to be too focused trying to get signed, and you're not going to be worrying about the things you're doing right now on TikTok, Instagram, releasing music, whatever. If you do it right, the right people at labels will find out about you. People will start talking. I don't care where you're at in the world. If you're making noise, if you're running the numbers up on Spotify, if you're running the numbers up on Apple Music, if people in your town are talking, if your TikToks are popping off, it would get across my desk. If I was still in A&R, it would get across my desk. She continues with, thank you for all the advice you share. It's been super helpful and inspiring to watch someone who actually tells the truth about this stuff. Well, thank you. Yeah, I would just tell you right now, continue what you're doing. Keep posting the behind the scenes stuff. Don't get too eager to sign anything right now at 16 years old. Don't be too eager to, how many streams did you have again? Well, how many streams did you have? 4,000 streams on Spotify since June. We're going into November. So you got a couple of hundred a month. Don't be eager to sign anything right now. Unless it's a major who's going to give you a check. Don't sign anything right now. Get those numbers up. Keep popping off, doing what you're doing. Get to 400,000 streams on Spotify with the single. Get to 400,000 followers on TikTok. Get monetized everywhere you possibly can. Keep posting the content you're doing. Keep doing cover songs. Don't worry about signing right now. Do not worry about signing right now. It's not ready. It's not your time unless they're going to pay you. So thank you for your email, Sarah. 16 years old and you're worried about being in a bad record deal. God bless you. I love that. We have hope for the youth of America, y'all. If you have a question on the music industry and you want me to answer it, just simply go to MatthewRicks.com, click submit your question, give me as many details as possible, and until next time, I will talk to you later.